This is Fam Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Erich Archer, your Emmy Award-winning TV producer and AI video expert. We're going to talk about the future of storytelling today. And I want to thank you for being a guest on the Fam Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here.
So one of the questions we ask before we get into the heart of your story, we ask every person that's on the show, is what motivates you and why do you do what you do?
I think it's all about story for me. I mean, I really love pretty pictures too, but I've always just been really compelled by story. And I think once I got a video camera in my hands, I realized that was how I was going to tell mine. And I've never been short on inspiration for things to make. So it's exciting times because it feels like now that's easier than ever.
So you've always been into film. That's from an early age. You wanted to be a filmmaker.
Not as early as some, but I was a film studies major in college. That was sort of when I figured it out. It wasn't what I intended to study when I went there. So it was around freshman, sophomore year that I sort of figured it out.
That's cool. Well, I love to talk to creative people. I'm a music producer, songwriter, and I'm also a software guy. I'm a software engineer, business analyst. So AI is kind of everything in the buzz world in the community I'm in. I'm in financial, insurance, software design, and we're using AI like everywhere we can.
Wow.
But it's just it's a whole new world. But it's software design. I started on mainframes. I'm a child of the 70s. COBOL was where it was at, and then we moved to like servers and Oracle and .NET and blockchain, and now we're in the AI world. But like exponentially, things change all the time, so we have to relearn everything.
Yeah,
and it's kind of our base tool set is the ability to learn.
100%.
So, do you find in film there are people that don't want to move in this direction with AI?
Yeah, it seems like most. Really, across all the sort of different departments or areas of it, it's interesting. Changing fast. I think it's getting harder and harder for those folks to ignore what they're seeing as things get better and more impressive. But I've been surprised at the slow adoption.
Is it kind of fear based? Because automation has always been kind of a fear thing. Going from the horse and buggy to the automobile. There were people that the blacksmith. People taking their horses. They were like, now I'm not going to be able to do that. So there's certain people who had certain roles that maybe get automated out of the existence. But then there's other opportunities. But if you don't learn to be the auto mechanic or learn how to do, electrical systems or whatever, the new changes, then you might be left out of where things are going.
Yeah. And I mean, it's compounded by how fast the change And if you're someone who's like not even tech savvy, I'm sure it's really scary. So
Yeah.
I get it. It is definitely it's a lot of change that's very scary.
Yeah, because like if you were doing something manually, I was talking to a guy yesterday that was Bob Dylan's engineer, and it went back on the analog tape when they used the razor blades to make the cuts.
Sure.
And now you can go into into any of the DAWs and do that. But it was like an art.
Yeah.
Like when you had to go into the tape, that was an art.
Yeah. I've tried to do that. It's really hard.
Yeah, it's kind of an art. So the people who had that kind of, and that's the kind of thing that people get scared of losing, I think, is like the things that were the hands-on, kind of analog, physical stuff that some directors still might want because they like the feel of it, or they feel it adds something. But the cost is expensive and cost cutting. So like, what was your experience in like actually getting into this new technology and being more of an adopter than a lot of people in your industry then?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that my day job is running a nonprofit TV station. So nonprofit being the operative word, like we're always hunting for resources. And it was really clear that AI was going to be a resource gain. And so that's kind of what caught my attention. And then our industry is media. So it's just so obvious. As soon as Midjourney came out, everything was about to change because I've been making content with still images for 20 years, not just video, but like so
Yeah.
in fact, as soon as I could see that I could generate anything, it was like, okay, this is gonna
Game changer. Because
yeah,
it's a constant, like, you don't have to have all the editors and videographers and
yeah,
the manual work that, you gotta pay people for it. You know, you
yeah,
and so,
exactly.
like, if you like, I can do this podcast because, like, I have a lot of automation tools. I can do so many episodes because I'm mostly doing it well, I'm pretty much doing it all myself.
Yeah.
Where in the old days, you'd have to have a whole staff to be able to do this at all.
Which I
Now
think
you
is like the most exciting thing, that it's so empowering to the individual creator. I think that's amazing, but it's got to be the most terrifying thing to a production company because the individual is now so powerful. So,
empowered, yeah,
you
to
know,
be able to you could get out there live to people. You run your own soundboard. You can run your SEO. You can run your automations. You can run your all your production workflow,
yeah,
and you're doing it like one person. Whereas
yeah,
like you had to go to a TV studio,
yeah.
to be able to do it. You couldn't talk. I mean, I can talk to somebody in Argentina.
And
You
pretty soon you'll be able to start telling ChatGPT to keep track of your tasks, and then it'll be do a couple for me, and it'll connect
yeah.
with these other platforms you're using, and like,
Yeah, the workflow. I've been looking into workflow automations to create landing pages automatically, stuff like that. There's a lot
amazing.
of cool stuff that you can save time,
Yeah.
and I've got workflows I already have. They're doing things
Hmm.
because I'm doing stuff in insurance that we're doing workflows that are creating all kinds of them. We're kicking off SQL code,
Hmm.
talking to Oracle databases, talking to
Yeah.
pulling XML, doing all kinds of stuff. Um, and it's just optimized. Even coders, we can get some of this AI stuff to actually generate code,
Yeah.
you know, and so
Definitely.
and we can get it to edit code with natural language
Yeah.
from a business person say they want to do X, and then boom, we can bring that in. That's unheard of. So it's actually making the business users entitled, the people who want to do something. Now you got that real fifth generation, more like sixth generation level natural language. Tell it to get something out of the database,
Yeah.
and you don't have to have
Yeah.
like a data engineer to do it.
Yeah. It's pretty profound. Like, I don't know how to do anything that you know how to do. I don't know how to code. I don't, but like, I've now made over 100 custom GPTs, which is like the cool. I was never able to make a tool
Before.
ever. And now it's like, hey,
Prompt
just
engineering. Yeah, you got that
make
prompt
me another
engineering
tool.
down
Yeah.
to, and you're doing video, which is really cool because video was a big thing, for a long time. Like AI say, well, it can't do video, and that was kind of a blocker. But the tech, exponentially keeps on getting better and better and better. And like workflows, like you mentioned, the workflow synchronicity, multiple platforms is happening now. I mean, there's lots of stuff that you can do now.
Oh yeah.
And in 6 months, it's going to be like, it just exponentially, and it gives you like the power of the think about somebody has a 3D printer.
Hmm.
They can go and like have a shop and do something that maybe 100 guys used to do,
Yeah.
right? And go do something like that, like the CNC machine, but that was expensive. Now the 3D printer is doing stuff. The CNC, like you're like, wow, you can do that. So
Yeah.
it's like, they gives you that tool that you can have a little micro business. So that's the opportunity people are not realizing, right? Like now you can have a film production company and you had an idea and you don't have to have all that money,
Yeah.
right? To go get it started. You could have the idea, right?
Well, that's the
Start.
thing. Yeah. I mean, I studied film. I went to New York to get into film, and I was lucky enough to work adjacent to it for a long time and feel good that I was able to be creative a little bit. But like, um, I had kind of let go of the idea that I'd be able to make one until recently, and now it's like, oh damn,
Man,
I could dust some of these idea books off, and and I don't need any money other than maybe, I don't know, 60 to $100 in subscriptions from
and
a couple,
licenses, yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and they don't even have to have the license. You can have subscription licenses, which makes it more affordable
Yeah,
to get something. And then if you don't need it, you can drop it or you can keep it, whatever. Just
yeah,
like that, that's what people don't get. The people are just scared, and fear is always like fear of the unknown,
yeah,
fear of what's changing. But I think if you're an artist, you tend to kind of try to dip your toe in the deep end and do something you don't maybe know, right? You want to see if you can do it, you
yeah.
know, and that's kind of where that's where the cool stuff happens,
Yeah,
you
and
know.
it's so accessible, and like you can just do it in the comfort of your home on your laptop and make mistakes and cherry pick all the best stuff and show it off, and it's a lot
Yeah.
of fun. Um, but I set out to just see how far I could push it initially, and I was like, well, let me just. I started with like a Ken Burns style piece because it to me was where the technology was at. Like, let's just see if we can do some basic moves on some nice images and tell a good story, and it was great. It worked really well for that. And now it's just a year later, and the tech is so much better. And I mean, the stuff DeepMind's coming out with is mind blowing.
You did that the first artist. Like, can you talk about how you did that compared to your Rufus project?
Sure,
Maybe you
sure.
want to start with Rufus. I don't know which one do you want to go with.
Well, Rufus was the Ken Burns style one. That was the first AI project that I made. I just wanted to see what I could do, really. And my dad had done some like ancestry research, and shown me what he had uncovered right around the time I wanted to do this. And I was like, oh, cool. Let me see if I can do something with the family tree you've built here and the pictures you've found and the cemetery photos you've taken and stuff, and like make it into a documentary. And so that's what I did about my great 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 grandfather, who I learned was a barrel maker in Salem, Massachusetts, right near where I live now. And I got to make pictures of him. I had a couple to start. But I took Ken Burns' master class, and I learned how he did it, and I followed, his whole program basically, and it was amazing, and just a real eye opener for me in terms of how those workflows were going to start to look, to get my hands dirty. And a year later, I made that piece, The First Artist, that you mentioned, and it was pretty much similar, if not the same tools, just
Mhm.
12 months later. It was still mainly mid-journey to runway, generating prompts in ChatGPT, bringing those to mid-journey, generating the images. I made 4,000 images that were cut down to 62 by the end. So
Oh,
that
wow.
just to give you a sense of like, how much it took to make a couple minutes of video. It was a couple of months of horrible imagery. Although I chose a really difficult way to do it, which was first person perspective.
Mhm.
I chose that to address not wanting to make any missteps around like cultural sensitivity, and I just didn't want to get into here's a white guy using AI to make a video about a brown skinned person. Like I wasn't just prepared to do that. So it was like,
Mhm.
let me, I wanted to make the piece. I almost didn't make it. I knew I shouldn't make a piece about another culture without involving that culture, but this culture is 35,000 years old. So I was just in sort of like this, what do I do? And I
Mhm.
had just recently done a piece in first person perspective for an ad agency. And I was like, oh, what if I did it that way?
That way, yeah.
That might get me, through it. And that's what I did. I made it in first person perspective. But if you think about the way image generators are trained, they're trained on images that exist. And that
Yeah, so how
kind
to
of
yeah,
photo isn't
that.
really popular. So, and it's hands on top of that. It's
Yeah,
all hands out in front of you like this. So it was just a double nightmare, um, which is probably throwing off the ratio of how many images you'd have to make for something like that. If you were making it about most things, probably be a little bit less of a pain. But
well, you chose to, like, use it as a tool and craft it, kinda like to me, in music, like, there was an argument about samplers, like, and then, like, are you actually writing music or are you just taking stuff, right?
mhm,
And, you get bands that like De La Soul, in the bomb squad, they were able to make the use of samples like in art.
Yeah.
And so there's a use of tools, like the AI tools can be used in such a way that it becomes a crafting tool, right? Like as
100% agree.
you're describing. And I think when people take the time to actually craft their vision and not just take the first prompt, but like actually go do detailed work. I think, being an IT person, one of the things is like we create tools, right? As IT guys is like, and sometimes we create things and people like we don't think about how they're going to get used, and people might just take like just overuse them or use them in a way that's not could cause controversy because people don't they
Mm,
take the first thing the prompt gives them, right? And they get lazy with it. They don't craft it, and that's fine. I mean, people do whatever, but then the tool gets blamed
right.
for the way people use
Right.
it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, people, it's tempting because lazy is still pretty amazing right now. It's like you just throw in any old prompt and you get a
Yeah,
pretty
you
cool
can get something because it wants to
yeah,
satisfy you. The generation AI tends to want to satisfy the user,
yeah,
so it's not like a Google
right,
search. It's
right.
designed to kind of give you stuff, and they could give you back hallucinations. If you don't check, what it gives you might not be right,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And
100%.
so the problem is like you get young people using it that haven't learned the rigor of citing things or not plagiarizing things, and then they can kind of go wrong.
Sure. Yeah, it's a powerful tool no matter which way you aim it, that's for sure. But to your point, I've described it as, using Midjourney as like working with clay now. Like because you'll get an image and then it gives you the four variate. You can make the variations of the images, and if you get four images and you like one, you kind of push it in that direction, and then you kind of
Yeah,
you
you
can go
mold.
all over the place with it and mold it very much in that way. So just about the craft of it.
It's there's different types of synthesis, right? And there's certain types of synthesis with like samplers that can actually radically shift like a sample. So you could take a sample and invert it, like invert the waveforms, like totally like wave shape them, totally distort them. So the original sample it doesn't sound anything like what you got, what you
Hmm.
took. And then that means that you can actually take it and put it across the whole keyboard as a tone. You
Hmm.
could take a sample and actually put it across the 61 key keyboard and turn it into a tone.
Yeah.
And then when you actually use it in chords, it doesn't sound like anything that you actually sampled. It
Hmm.
just becomes a tone, like it's
Right.
a newfound sound. And it's like that clay you're talking about. Like
Hmm.
I do a lot of sound design, and I use analog synthesizers, I use samplers, I use digital and old tech
Hmm.
because I still like old 70s analog. But I kind of use everything. Like there's modern capabilities of the digital stuff that's really can give me a Steinway piano,
Hmm.
right? And I can't afford a Steinway, but I need to be able to play one. So I can't afford to book one. I can get one.
Hmm.
It's the kind of same kind of use case you have. It's like, well, I can't afford to have the crew go out there and film this for real, but I
Yeah.
can go get this. It's like I can't afford time at Electric Lady on a Steinway or or hey, I'm a B3. I'm going to go get this thing and use it
Yeah.
instead.
It's 100% like that with whether you're pulling in styles and meshing those styles through either image techniques or prompt techniques, or pulling in imagery and using it as style references or character references, or doing some of the different things that these tools enable you to do now, so that I can do things like take a very like a well-known piece of art or a photograph and kind of pull it into a Midjourney and introduce through prompts and blending with other images and things, all kinds of different things.
Variation. They're not the same
Um,
source.
yeah, it's amazing, and you would never be able to trace it back to its original
Yeah,
source
correct.
by
Yeah, it's
you
kind of
know
like it's not like simple sampling where you take a Queen Bowie song and throw other lyrics on it.
right.
Right. That's kind of like maybe that's not the most creative use of what you could do. Right. So the idea that you take something and you radically shift it, you invert it. You have like you have these like we have like these analog inverters that actually kind of totally take something and like negative process it, so you can actually totally invert the wave, or like an attenuverter. We have these things called attenuverters that actually take the signal and totally radically shift it, so you can just it becomes nothing like what it was. It could turn into feedback. It could turn into
Mhm.
white noise, could turn to pink noise. It could turn into something that it wasn't. That's not what it was. Right? You can wave fold it. You can just take that signal and radically change it to something, and it's really kind of like point in time. It's there's so many different variations you could have. It becomes like a new like palette. As a painter,
Yeah.
sound painting is what we call it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really similar now.
Yeah,
Really,
so I
really
think it's doing what you can do is what we've been doing on synthesizers, you know,
mhm.
in terms of like taking sampled content versus oscillator originated content, and then sometimes I'm merging both.
Yeah, I think we could maybe look at music, as what's gonna happen to our industry on the video side, what went through the music industry happened before, and we can kinda look at that and go, "Okay, well, who came out on top there?" As
Yeah.
individuals got more empowered, but things kinda splintered and,
Yeah, it's just like rights management. It's like if you do take something, like we have to clear obvious samples. If you take something as it is and they trace it, you're gonna get a strike or you're gonna have to pay them.
mhm,
So I think like, the system might have to work out, for musicians, like if we sample something and we actually want that 74 song of 15 seconds of that song and we take it as it is, we have to pay for it. And so, they ended up working out that digital rights management, and we have a system now where we pay for it. Like if you create an album that has tons of samples, you actually pay for all those samples if you didn't radically shift them.
that's cool. I didn't understand it that clearly.
Yeah,
That's
that's what happened. So like it's not free.
yeah, yeah,
So it became something where the original owners of the copyright, what ended up happening is some of the people who you think own it don't own it, right? Like
mhm,
sometimes these big companies own it, the artist doesn't own
mhm,
it, and then they'll come after you. So there's a big like, company actually owns it, and it's like it's not actually the artist. The artist is dead, but this company owns that thing, and then
well,
suddenly you got to pay them.
is nobody making the, fair use argument in music? It's all digital rights management. They've already
As digital rights management, if you take the exact sample, you have to clear it.
mhm,
If you take an exact now, if you actually radically shift it so you can't tell what it is, like a bomb squad thing, but you
mhm,
can't even figure out where it came from, right? Because
yeah,
you went and did a lot of sound
yeah,
processing on it, then you won't get hit. But
yeah,
if you do the kind of Ice Ice Baby thing,
right.
you will get hit, and you will pay Rick James that money, and he did get paid.
As he should have.
Yeah, so that's what happens. But I mean, that's why I think it might happen if you take something that's obvious.
Mhm,
If it's not obvious and you can't trace it back, then you won't have to pay. But think that's what's going to get worked out. And I let people who own rights. My brother's a lawyer, but I think that's the Wild West now. But I think the lawyers are going to work something out like what they did for music. I think they end up working it out.
yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I think we'd all be wise to study the music industry, winners and losers, and, you know, try to position ourselves appropriately.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's like the Wild West. Is as like later things start to tighten up.
Mhm,
But because that's the thing is that as the technical people, like, we give you the tool. Doesn't mean that the lawyer said the tool is cool. That's what
yeah,
happened with the samplers. The samplers just let you do it, and
yeah,
because you can still do it. But like if you do it, there are consequences when you do it.
yeah.
So that's what I think is going to end up happening. But
Yeah, yeah, it definitely, needs to, although the Wild West is a pretty fun moment.
yeah, there's always that period, when the first, there was this period when the hip hop first showed up, and people were just taking all kinds of stuff, and then you've seen it kind of dry up, where
Interesting.
people aren't taking what they used to, and like why? Because what I just said.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah,
so now they're actually pulling, like, unique things, or they're getting cleared on purpose, but, like, it's not what it was, what they used to do.
mm. Yeah, some good music lost, unfortunately, probably through that process,
Yeah.
but
You
what are
know,
you gonna
like De La Soul, for years, their stuff couldn't come out because they had to clear it.
mm,
Their stuff was, like, not on any digital platform because
interesting.
the lawyers had to clear all the samples, and some on the re-release albums, some of the samples were not able to be cleared, so the album had to be redone. On
Oh,
some songs, some of those samples aren't there. If you have the vinyl or the old tape, you'll hear it on that tape from when the album first came out, but if you get the new digital version, it doesn't have it. So that's kinda what happens.
interesting. Yeah, everyone be careful, I guess.
Yeah, it's just the way the world is, lawyers like to come in and wreck everything. The tech will let you do it, but, the
Well,
lawyers will tell you something else. But it's cool, the capabilities. And I've been, thinking about things myself in terms of, like, ideas for, like, videos. As a music artist, you want to create a video, you might have an idea for, like, an animated character, right? To be able to do a 3-minute video. And now with these tools, I had this idea for, my band Fam Electric Ghost to actually make a ghost cartoon kind of video, like a Gorillaz video.
awesome.
But I don't have the money to pay a professional cartoonist and you know, film animators to do that. But now I can actually think about the idea I had like 6 years ago. I could actually look into actually doing it.
And it could be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, now what you can do now is like it would look like a joke 6 years ago, but like now it's like, oh, that actually could look cool now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting to think about all the individuals all over the place of all kinds of means that will have the ability to create things that they wouldn't have otherwise, wouldn't have before this, you know? It's hard to do creative work. It's hard to get the access and the permission and the money and all that stuff. So this will really remove a lot of those barriers, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in being able to take like original line art of a character and being able to animate it through like AI taking my character, like I have a character called Josephine Electric. She's a ghost. She's like a fictional lead singer of the band.
It's awesome.
You boycott her to do her voice. I use like technology to create her voice, take my voice and make it feminine. Um, if I can take my daughter drew pictures of her because she's a graphic artist, but we never had the money to kind of fully animate it. Now I could actually take her example drawings and put it into a system that would kind of spec out what she
100%.
would look like, right?
Yeah. And those are the best projects. That's what all my projects are like. They're with my kids. They're like whatever's right around me is the inspiration. You know, that's so cool to me.
Yeah,
You know,
because that's where you can take an original idea and then you didn't have the manpower to get like I can't get a Popeye studio to do this. Like
yeah,
back in the old days, you get Fritz the cat, Felix the cat. You were like, oh, I'd like to have something look like that. It's like, well, I don't have the manpower to get that done, but maybe I could get something to do that, Now I could actually do that. It's like so you could come up with, my daughter's always showing me all these little short animation projects that these like people are doing on the net. They're all over YouTube and all these other places where people are creating like their own cartoons.
yeah.
And I'm
Are
like,
you spitting
wow,
out
it's
a
like,
bunch of music IP?
huh?
Do you have music IP?
I don't think I have that, but I was just talking about my daughter's like watching stuff on like clips that she
Yeah,
has.
yeah, yeah. I just meant of your like for merging your idea with her, like your music with her graphic.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to check that out though. But is that the tool you were talking about?
Oh no, I was just asking you like, do you have music? Do you have your own?
Oh yeah, yeah. My band. Phantom
Yeah,
Electric Ghost is a band.
yeah, yeah.
We've got stuff on it's all stuff I wrote, so it's out
Awesome.
there.
The
So
world
yeah.
needs that collaboration between you and your daughter, man.
Oh yeah. Well, she designed my logo.
Yeah,
The logos that Yappa have, that you see up there
that's awesome.
in this one too. That one, that's the ghost. See the ghost, and then this
Oh,
one.
right on.
Yeah,
I
we're
love it.
actually
That's
working
awesome.
on some new versions of it, but I've got a Josephine one, but I don't have it here. But yeah, the idea, to be able to take, but the ghost looks even more menacing in different ways. But yeah, you can do a lot of cool stuff. I just think the art, giving people control to make their own like Disney studio. Like,
Yeah.
see these people, these kids out there, young people making their own cartoons, making manga, making their own manga, putting it together and put it out like mini comics and stuff. It's like that gets your. And I'm a comic book collector, and I love science, seeing new ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I like watching manga. I actually lived in Japan. I love watching like original Japanese manga that don't even get translated, just because I like seeing new ideas. And like when people are able to get inspired by that kind of thing and make their own thing, you got a merging of like Western culture or Eastern culture, then you get really cool stuff. Get the kids here, they're inspired by that, and the kids there are inspired by us. So they get this cross cultural stuff going on. You
Yeah.
know, what are some new project you're thinking about doing since you did these two that you mentioned, like Rufus and First Artist? Are you working on something now?
Well, yeah, I started to think about what to do next, and so I got the idea for the first artist from my kid's history textbook. It was this great history textbook where like each page was a different chapter of history. So I just started flipping through the next pages, and I learned that around, I think it was 3,500 years ago, the wheel was invented, but not the way that you might think. It was invented as a potter's wheel on its side, right? And 300 years, and this is in Mesopotamia, and about 300 years later, the wheel on its side was introduced to the world, attached to a donkey or whatever, and like
Mm,
pulling things for the first
like a
time.
wagon.
So it just kind of occurred to me that like I could make a story where I condense that few hundred years of iteration of the wheel from the potter's wheel to the wheel into uh, a,
Like a
a,
short.
a potter's story where like a female is maybe a girl is a potter and she discovers the wheel herself somehow is the
Mm.
sort of little nugget of the idea as I've started playing around with
Oh, that's
some
cool. Yeah.
images and just yeah, I think that's probably the next thing I'll start messing around with.
So like as a short or as a full thing, like a
As a
short.
short, just to I like to have things going just to keep testing the tools
Yeah.
and keep doing something that is just mine and I don't have to compromise any decisions on. You
Are
know,
you ever thinking of doing like longer form, or you stick to shorts for now?
I mean, longer form I think would just require funding because it would take so long.
Mm.
It took me a couple months to make 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Oh,
so that's a lot of work.
and yeah, and it was still pretty limited in what I was doing. It wasn't like there wasn't dialogue, there weren't even faces.
Yeah, so
So
that's like a multi-year effort if you ever tried to do something like that.
well, I mean, I think with some extra horsepower of people who know how to do this stuff, we could crank.
If you
Um,
got like a group of people to do it rather than you.
yes, you just structure it the way that I'm accustomed to structuring productions now. Uh, but you have to pay those folks.
Yeah, but it
So
wouldn't be as much as a bigger production, so it could be possible.
I'm thinking a small team of people. Yeah, like you need image generate. Well, I could go through the org chart, but I don't think
Yeah, yeah,
it's not
yeah.
big.
No, that's cool. I mean, it just gives you like the fact that like we were talking about, like the micro kind of business structures that you can build now, where you used to be like 100 animators or 1,000 people working in the Fritz Lang studio to get Popeye out.
And we build the workflows that just make everything a series. It's just it's an exciting time to think about how
Yeah, because they think about all the content you could create and all the creators that could get back and bring back like genres that could get people
Oh,
back into like, like I was saying, I see a lot of cool little short cartoons. And sometimes we haven't been seeing a lot of new cartoons being developed. We see manga and anime coming
mhm.
from the East. But like, where are the original like US American cartoons?
Yeah,
Like we don't see what it used to be in the heyday, like back in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, like massive amounts of stuff coming out of those studios. And now it's like
mhm.
kind of like dropped off. But I think it could come back if people actually say, like, I've got an interest, I like this stuff, I'm gonna make my own characters. And
Yeah,
it could come up kind of like rap and hip hop comes out of people this I want to do it myself,
yeah.
because I got a vision.
And I think it makes everyone a little bit better too. Like I was messing around thinking about it's sort of in the same way I thought about the Ken Burns thing. Like maybe I could make I used to love the Far Side comic. Are you familiar
Oh
with
yeah.
that?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Just single frame, black and white, line drawing, nothing fancy, and a single line usually of text.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, that was very simple, but it's really cool.
yeah, I'm like, I wonder if I could tune ChatGPT to pretty much help
So you
me
make
make
a
my
comic
version
strip.
of that.
You can make a comic strip and they actually add like a mini comic or have it coming
Yeah,
out. Yeah. But
I'm
that's
like,
totally doable. Yeah, something
you
like a
know,
comic strip level. Like, yeah, because that's manageable.
and even like the humor itself, like I'm not that funny. I'm funny sometimes, but I tried to use ChatGPT to like level up the humor to make it actually funny to more people and like uh you know
It will level up your ability. Like
yeah,
it's like the thing is over time, is like as you start seeing what's coming back, you get ideas, you get better. So
right.
you're like, yeah, you start, it's like anything, like you start once you start working in something, it's like the 10,000 hours of doing it.
Hmm.
You start seeing things, you start picking up new ways of, turning a phrase.
Yeah.
Then you learn how to turn a phrase. And then so it just becomes like you get better ideas because
Mm,
you're in it.
yeah, and you can copy all your prompts and you can make custom GPTs and you can do all kinds of things to you can build automations, so many things to capture all that, like all those decisions and processes and stuff. I mean, before long, you won't be automating landing pages. You'll be automating businesses. You'll just be popping up a new business automatically when you have an idea, the
Yeah,
whole
well,
thing.
it's a lot of what you can do now. You can just pop up a website, pop up
Yeah.
the services, and
Yeah.
then have your bots actually taking the orders or actually doing the service.
Right. Like I've got an idea for this kind of business. Go landing page bot, go, you know,
Yeah,
content writer bot, whatever. Yeah, it's going to be wild.
yeah, just a lot of people can get in there and even help push their content as like if you think if you're a therapist and you've got a podcast and you've got a webinar and you want to expand and you want to get out there, you want to build your booking site to book, your guests to come into your Caribbean retreat seminar and then sell the books, sell the t-shirts, sell the tickets, book everybody, line things up, handle that people asking questions. Like you can build all these things that would have took a lot of overhead, and then you can get the stuff automated. That's it's like it's real world examples of stuff that you would actually do.
Yeah. And if you build it once, and most of the stuff you'll just be able to buy probably, you know.
Yeah, most of it's like plug and play. There's lots of people are offering all kinds of tools now.
Yeah.
In businesses, we have like, tools that go in, you're in a meeting and it will actually capture the meeting minutes and the action items and the follow-up emails and the reminders and the
Mhm.
issue list and all that stuff and like automate a lot of that, which is like the project management, right, of the actual meeting. But you have control over what it's doing. And you can, but it's taking tasks that sometimes people don't forget or don't do right, or aren't accurately capturing the information, and it
Mhm.
makes you go back and like look, like what did we get out of this meeting?
Mhm.
What were the action items? What were the follow ups? What is the issue log? People always kind of mess up on those things because they're going to so many meetings, they can't keep track. They
Right.
have 4 meetings back to back. What were the action items of meeting 2 versus meeting 5?
Right.
Then they merge them and they can't remember what they did. It's like, oh,
Yeah. 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 We've all felt that. Yeah. It's amazing. It's
there's a
amazing.
lot of stuff that really helps you. They can help you be like really, it just makes you like have like a superpower because
Yeah.
your awesome assistant that's sitting next to you.
That's what it feels like. It really does. It's really, it's incredible when you start to really understand the power of it.
Yeah, it's just the fear thing is like, yeah, I mean, like I was in a I was in an industry like that was affected by COVID, like part of the insurance industry, and they stopped like looking for my type of talent. So I actually went to a different part of the industry. I went to a different type of insurance. And I was able to convince the people that even though I hadn't been in that insurance, because I had been in one other type, that it wasn't that different. And then I beefed it up with all these AI certifications. I got like ChatGPT, Gemini, I got a bunch of certifications to be like the Google certification and all these certification courses you can get. So he's like, if you take the time, and I wasn't somebody that knew that stuff, but I went and learned it, and then got the certifications. There's a lot of stuff you can do now online to beef up what you don't know
Oh yeah.
and get good at it. And then you can go get the tool and you can play with it. Like if you don't want to get the certification, you can be like, I just want to get the tool so I can see what it does.
Right.
If you're that type of person, you can do that. But if you're in the industry, they want to see the certification. So, you got to
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I'm big on certifications. I've gotten a lot myself. I think they're really valuable. And, I think learning should just be part of the job for everybody now. And the cool thing is, this all sort of happened to us all at the same time. Like we're all from the C-suite down. Like this came out. If you think
Yeah.
about it, like I do, like ChatGPT and Midjourney were the beginning. And I know a lot of people have been working in AI for decades, but like
Yeah,
to
yeah.
this
Or
day,
they've
it's
been around
brand
for a
new.
while, but they got approachable,
Yeah,
for us. There
yeah,
are people that had it, but we didn't have
yeah.
it.
The LLM era, I guess, right? Like, uh, but where was I going with that? Yes, the starting line is right there. We all just started, and I think it's a cool environment. I find people are real humble and open to conversation and like learning again and collaborating. It seems like it's been a humbling thing for everybody. We're all like,
I
oh
think it's like I think it's just you gotta get the mindset that you go back. It's kind of like you go back to school a little bit, and some people, maybe they've got bad memories of being in school, and the idea of going back and retraining, it seems like, oh, it's not where I want to be. But that's kind of like the world where it is. Like between the robotics revolution, the drones and AI and advanced technologies, it's like you're gonna have to level up because guess what? A lot of other countries are leveling up.
yeah,
So like if you don't level up, Asia's gonna level up, Europe's gonna level up, and you're not gonna be able to be standing still.
yeah. But I mean, not only is it easier than ever because it's conversational in most cases, it's a lot of fun, and I think it can seem big and scary, but like there's really valuable use cases for people at such low hanging fruit.
Oh yeah.
Like, just let it, just like whatever you're spending time thinking about, go chat with Chat GPT about it. Go use it as a consult for whatever decision you're working on, and just see if it doesn't help you with that decision. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
it helps with the research. I mean, you still have to have good verification skills, like just and if you went to school and you wrote a research paper, you got to check, you got to verify, you got to make sure you're not getting a hallucination. Make sure that what it's trained on. It might only go up to a certain date. It might give you something that's not factual, right? But there's like if you're using it in business, there's a certain level, like in finance and legal terms or concepts, you got to verify is that right? So So you can't just take the first thing that comes off the bat, in which is like, people might take because it's way better than what comes from a regular search,
Yeah.
right? But you still have to verify.
Yeah, I think the more specific you're asking it to be, the more careful you need to be. And
Yeah.
fortunately for me, I work in like a all my use cases are creative. They're all just like, let's work on this idea.
Yeah, yeah. If you're in that space, it's like less stringent, but when you're actually working with actuarial and accountants and legal, you
Doing
gotta be
real stuff.
you gotta be careful. You're just like the client's gonna get mad and say you gave him the wrong thing. You better get the right deal.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, it's just a wild new world in terms of like 3D printer level thing, and like you can start like a business. You can start your idea, and it actually it's like it doesn't have to be pie in the sky.
yeah,
Like you when you were looking at it probably the first time, right? You're like, wow, this thing can actually do something I wanted to do. Like you actually saw a use case. You were trying to lower cost in a a nonprofit or public radio, public TV station. Like you're trying to find a way to level up to get capabilities for like not having to spend the money.
yeah. Trying to compete, trying to compete. And there were other use cases that popped up quickly, like trying to interpret documents that we were getting from TV networks about what they want to buy, and trying to turn around good ideas that are targeted and that they want to buy based on what
Mhm.
they say they want to buy. And things like that, where like extra rigor is really going to help.
Oh yeah. It helps your business case, it helps your presentation skills. I mean, there's all kinds of tools for beefing up PowerPoints, beefing up, Excel, beefing up, decks, presentation decks and visuals. I work in a lot of like data engineering, which is like all about like people looking at mathematical models and visualizations. And everybody wants to get like the best analytical data analytics. And the cool thing about a lot of this artificial intelligence, they can actually go and check for trends in places that maybe you couldn't get to. You know,
Hmm.
you go and check worldwide markets. Go and check multiple. You know, like not just the U.S. Wall Street, but check what's going on in Hong Kong, what's happening in Asia, what's happening in Europe. It's like you can check like all kinds of trends that you might be missing because your data can only go so far, but this data can cross into other places and give you like really good insights.
Oh yeah.
Uh, you
Just
still
today,
have to have, yeah,
I got yesterday I did blood work for my annual physical. That was today. I got my results before the physical, so I ran them through ChatGPT because I don't know what these results
you
mean,
don't know what they mean.
anything. And then I went in, and the doctor reviewed the same results and didn't mention one of the things ChatGPT mentioned. And I was like, well, what about this? And he was like, and he went back and he looked and he was like, oh yeah, well, and he gave me an explanation about that like I really was glad to have. I'm fine, but like, it was just
Yeah,
like, it
you
was
can do
because
a
what
lot of
we
good,
were doing,
yeah,
it did
good
that,
work.
made that insight on its own. So anyway.
But this gives you more informed. Like it's like a problem sometimes is like, doctors realize they got a leg up in terms of their information and they're kind of overloaded. And so they might not give you everything.
Hmm.
Right. And so you have to take ownership. And when you get a tool like a chat GPT or any kind of AI tool, it gives you the power to suddenly be able to sit there with the doctor and to maybe challenge the doctor or ask the doctor a question that you didn't know how to ask
Yeah,
for,
I've
which
done it
is
with a
actually
lawyer.
going to help. He's going to help you.
Yeah, I've done it with a lawyer too.
Yeah, it's just good to check things out. Like you can go check, you go buy looking for cars and like looking for like what kind of problems does this engine have?
Hmm.
What does this actually mean?
Yeah.
Right. And you actually go look and it's like, well, this problem, these guys actually use like a like a like a plastic like coating rather than soldering, like a glue. I started looking at like, this one engine company, I won't say who they are. they're using like a glue for internal pieces of an engine block.
Wow.
What do you think is going to happen to a glue after for like 100,000 miles versus if it was actually done like the old way?
Yeah.
Right. So it was like there's some things that where what happens to carbon fiber because the carbon fiber is cool, but when it breaks, it breaks. Right. So
Mhm.
it'll crack. So if you put a carbon fiber piece inside of a machine and you want it to be long living, it's going to be lighter, but it's not going to last longer. So it's like you got to say, is it being lighter your what you want, or do you want it to last? You got to start looking into what you do, what things that you buy, things that you look at. Like sometimes people don't look at all the details, and a lot of these tools can actually get you to be a more informed consumer
100%.
on what's going on, right?
Yeah, that's really important. I mean, that's a powerful level of usage right there. I think for people that if that's all they were doing would be a lot of help to them in their lives in general.
Yeah, you make better decisions with your money.
All around. We could all make slightly better decisions across the board, right?
Yeah, but if you're a more informed consumer, then you're not just falling for the bright lights in the shiny package. You're actually checking things out, you
Mhm,
know, to
mhm.
see like is it what you really need versus what you want.
Right, right.
But yeah, I just think it's cool that we have the fact that you dove into this and there is some resistance like anything that's new. There's always resistance to anything's on the cutting edge. People are like, "What's that?"
Yeah,
Um, But, you've given a lot of cases where, fear is always present, but people need to put their thinking cap back on and the fear will start to subside when you actually see what you can get out of this new tech.
yeah, 100%. Give it a chance. I think, even the free level of these things can be really, really helpful to you.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to thank you again. Is there any lessons learned for somebody getting into it that maybe is like intimidated by tech and
Yeah. I'll give you the most helpful thing I heard last year, which was, um, even I was getting overwhelmed with the all the video and image models coming out and how much better they were getting all the time. It's like, there's no way I'm going to be able to stay good enough. I can barely learn this one before the next one comes out and everything. And someone who had had a very high position at Midjourney told me that these companies are really cherry picking the examples that they're sharing in most cases. And I've found that to be really true. Like I'll see a new uh, model come out and the visuals will just blow me away and I'll be like, I gotta go try that. And I'll try it and they'll not match that at all.
they give you
you
the
know?
best they give you the
And,
best case.
they give you the cherry on top a lot of the times. And I just say that to encourage people that like after a year of playing with this stuff, it's much more akin to like a street fight playing with these tools and trying to make anything good. It's hard. It's a fight. You have to wrestle with it, and it's going to be a real pain in the neck for a lot of it. And that's fine. It's just
So
it is what it is.
it might be better to get a tool, get familiar with it instead of trying to jump on everything that comes along.
That and also just don't worry that like 9 out of 10 things you output are terrible because that's what we're dealing with right now. That's what it is, and that's fine. And just if you're into it, stick with it, and your ratio will improve, and the tools will improve, and maybe there'll be space for you to be a creator.
Yeah, I think that's what goes on, as a musician, like your demos, like what your demo number one versus demo 101 or 1001, like the hours that you put in, you progressively get better.
Yeah,
Like as a musician, it's any kind of creative exercise. Like the more you're into it, the discipline of actually showing up and doing it will give you the ability it's just like you can't give up. It's like you got to show up, you got to do it. Like, you know, if you stay on your chops, then you stick, you get better.
And
Yeah.
I put all that work in and all that time and everything and schooling and everything. And I made this piece and I was super proud of it. And I put it out. Someone called it a screensaver.
Well, you know, the first time you put something out, like that's what happens. Like the haters always, they didn't do any work, and it's easy for them to say that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like what did you do? You know,
Well,
where's your screensaver?
yeah. Yeah. Well, even that shouldn't stop you, right? Like
Yeah. 'Cause
just
you gotta have that kind of just a punk aesthetic to me was the thing that kind of equalized music as it came out of the 70s. Like when I saw the Clash and the Ramones, I said, "Oh, you don't have to sing like Robert Plant, right? You don't have to be Roger Daltrey. You don't have to be one of these like you don't have to be Freddie Mercury. You can
yeah.
come out there like Joe Strummer,
Yeah.
right? Like Joey Ramone. Like
Yeah.
if you have the heart, people will pick up on the heart."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's like so I always stop being a snob about like what music could be. That you can
Mhm.
have different levels, and it could be, you know, the Clash have 5-star records, and
Yeah.
the Zeppelin has 5-star records.
Yeah.
They're not the same. They're different, right? It's like you can have those in the art space. They can both be there, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've tried to really remove the snobbery from what I'm doing, and I have I have mistakes in there, and my kids' voices in there, and it is what it is,
Yeah. Well, you're doing it. Like I applaud anybody that dives into the, you know, the Wild West out there and then starts doing it because that's what you got to do. You know, the only way you learn it, you know, you get up on a. I mean, I got up on my mountain bike and went down Killington like the first time as a mountain biker. I've been biking and I was like, I want to do the downhill, but I didn't do that downhill until I've been mountain biking for like 5 years cross country. Now, I wouldn't tell somebody go buy the bike and then go do Killington the next day.
Yeah.
You probably want to ride it, tell her how to ride it, right? So you don't want to jump a bunch of steps.
Yeah. Sound advice. Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
But I want to thank you for being a guest on the Family Electric Ghost podcast. We have cgacreative.com. People click on that. What will they find there?
It's mainly just my AI hobby site. I'm just kind of putting all the projects I'm working on there, and that's about it for now. But you can follow my my video projects, and I'm doing some other custom GPT work there as well.
Cool. Well, I enjoyed talking to you tonight, and I want to thank you and have everybody click on that. Will be fully clickable in the podcast description. We were just live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. It will be on all the other podcast platforms where you can listen to a podcast or watch it. Thank you again for being on the Family Electric Ghost podcast tonight.
Thanks so much. This was great.
Thank you.